Hey everybody, so new vlog style here. So I'm recording with my DLSR, just in case you're wondering. But I'm recording audio on both the camera and my dedicated mic. Let me just show you here. This is a Pro mic. It's a great mic because it is fault tolerant. Fault tolerant. What does that mean, fault tolerant? It means that it is a mic that's not super sensitive, so you can make mistakes. You can not pay too close attention to what you're doing in the mic, how you're speaking to the mic, and you're still going to get good sound. That is a fault tolerant mic. So what we're going to do in this particular vlog is I'm going to answer some questions, and then I'm going to get into whatever. So first of all, let me just say that my a fabled server migration is pretty much done. Let me get this in the way. Okay, my fabled server migration is done. It took me getting up at 6 in the morning when I realized that many of the sites that they had migrated, they did not migrate properly. Essentially what happens is that the B team, the C team, is involved in the basic migrations at this particular company. And so the C team didn't do a very basic thing like checking to see if the migrations were successful before doing the DNS update. Now the DNS is short for domain name server, and essentially the domain name servers, the DNS servers, I think it's domain name server. Anyway, I'm not a server admin. I used to be a long time ago. I forget a lot of stuff now. But anyway, the DNS server is what you have to set to tell the internet where your site happens to be. So unfortunately, or fortunately, I have several sites, many sites. So we did the big transfer last night, and well, they did. And they didn't check to see if the transfers were successful, meaning that the sites were loading properly. Anyhow, so they do the transfer, and then they turn the switch on the DNS. I wake up at 6 in the morning, and lo and behold, most of the sites are offline for at least 2-3 hours. So at this point, I'm getting pretty angry about this. Angry is a strong word. I'm a little ticked off. So whatever, I started emailing them, and they, come on, fix it up, boom, boom, boom. Anyway, long story short, I had to get the A team at the hosting company to get involved, and they were able to fix it. They got a good group, but when it came to just the server transfers, they got the C team on there, and they're not doing such a good job. So long story short, I started at 6 a.m., and I wasn't working full-time on this, but I'm constantly sending emails, double-checking, this is not working, you got to fix this, you should install that, boom, 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 boom. And honestly, they're responding and doing it, but ideally, they should, just make sure it's up and running. So when I finally got the A team on the job, things started happening, sites started coming up. But you know what? I really wasn't done supervising this whole process until like 6 o'clock at night. Now, again, I took lunch off, I did this, I did that, but it's a constant thing, and it's very tiring. It's very tiring when you're under a bit of pressure because you want your sites to be up. The Killer Sites network of sites, there's like four good sites. They get about 250,000 unique visitors a month and over 2 million page views. And so it's important that these sites stay up. Also, we have the apps. Some of the apps were dependent on the new server being up and running properly. So it's a bit of a problem. So it's a bit of a strain. Anyhow, so 12 hours later, it looks like we're pretty good. Looks like everything's going. We're going to know ultimately tomorrow, because tomorrow I have to power down the old dedicated server, because at the end of the month the next payment is due, so I want to try to avoid that. And there you go. This is business. Welcome to the world of entrepreneurship, or being an entrepreneur. Welcome to the world where you, as the CEO, as the owner, you are the guy or the girl who has to deal with all the problems. You got to deal with all the BS. That's you. You're the person. Besides having to deal with the creative direction, the big picture, you got to make sure that the wheels are greased and the thing is going forward. That's just the way it goes. So if you think running a business is like this glamorous thing that's a lot of fun and a lot less work, no, not always. Sometimes, like I had a real good stretch for like 10 years where, I was basically semi-retired. But coming out of it and pushing forward with these new projects that I'm doing, I'm involved in a few things. It's a lot of work. And the server migration is just one thing. And these days, if you're starting a business, even if it's not really a tech business, you have to have a web presence and so on. So anyway, I'm off on a tangent here. So in terms of my course material, like I said, that Python course, it's still up for pre-sale because the editor, she got caught up in stuff. We were in a big hurry, so the final version is not out. The videos are pretty much like 98% done. There'll be some tweaks here and there, but they're really good. I've been creating courses since 2003, and I think the Python course is the best course I ever put out, that's for sure. So you can get it now, pre-order, get it cheap. When it gets out of pre-order, the price is going up. When it gets mounted in StudioWeb, though, you're going to have the interactive component and the quizzing and so forth. Going forward, in terms of course material, in terms of tech, I think I'm going to come up with some maybe more niche Python courses, I believe. People have been asking me for that. I've covered a lot of the other things, the important things, the HTML5, CSS3, the JavaScript. See, my HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript, I call them beginners, but they start you from beginner, but they take you to professional level, in many respects. I don't teach you everything, but I teach you all the key techniques, and you're able to build all the things that people want to build. This is not an advertisement. There's a point to this. The point is that if you've been watching my videos, you know that I'm a huge believer in the fundamentals. Once you get the fundamentals, everything else comes pretty easy. So that is what now that I got these fundamentals in place, these fundamental courses, let me tell you, to put out the HTML, the CSS, the JavaScript, and the PHP course properly, all things said and done, it was like 6 to 8 months of work. Not full time, but maybe 70% of my time. And people go, what? How could that be? Well, there are hundreds of videos, over 1,000 quiz questions, highly refined, highly edited, and that's why they're so effective. Now, you see a lot of YouTube videos where these guys run on and they do good work, but they're not nearly as structured as my course. In fact, I wrote my book, which you guys have seen, to help me plan out the structure of the courses, because when you're building courses for the general public, which you slap on YouTube, that's one thing. But when you're building courses used by institutions, educational institutions, schools, and other places, that's a whole different kettle of fish there. It requires much more effort on your part to get things done. So in terms of technical or coding-based courses, again, like I said, I got the key ones in place, which can take you in all kinds of directions in terms of career. So with the HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript, PHP, and Python, that's huge. That's huge. Right there, you can leapfrog into almost anything. I might do something on Intro to AI. I might put out gaming, quick how to create a game with Python for people to have fun with that. But I think what I'm going to do is something that I don't see too often out there, is that's actually proper business and technology courses or business-related vlogs and discussions. I've talked about things in many of my vlogs, but I think I'm putting together something really well-structured. And this is what I think is a lot more rare, because for every entrepreneur who's had successes in small business, there might be 10,000 coders or 100,000 coders. You know what I mean? Something like that. I don't know what the ratio is, but you get the idea. And since I've been in business for 28 years in different types of small business, I think I have a lot to bring to the table in terms of those type of discussions. Since I didn't get lucky and was born a rich kid, since I didn't get lucky with the big one-hit wonder, I struggled and tried different businesses, different products, different industries even. I'm not just a tech guy. So, in fact, the tech and learning to code was a vehicle to help my non-tech business originally. Anyway, so I think you're going to see more of the content's going to be oriented towards business, and we'll see how that goes. YouTube is a hobby. But it's also, I have to admit, it's also exposed me to people who may not have seen my work before. So I'm just going to continue in that direction. And we'll see what the audience decides, what they like, and take it from there. So what I'm going to do now is answer some emails. No, answer this pinned comment by David Connolly, who, here's an example of a guy who knows how to write and he knows business. And why do I say that? If you look at it, let me just zoom in on this. Hold on. Why do I say that? Because you want to check out, he has a channel, David Connolly. You may want to check that out. He's a pretty entertaining speaker. He writes in a concise way, and he gets to the point. You see how he's using bullet points here? In modern day writing, you want to have short paragraphs, you want to make use of bullet points, you want to get to the point, especially when people are in positions of authority, when they're busy, they have tons of information being hurled at them. They don't have time to read big giant paragraphs of text. When I see emails with huge paragraphs, it's like, oh. It's like Howard Stern, not that I'm a big fan, but he said one thing that was I can attest to and I agree with. He said the difference between people who are successful and those who aren't successful is that the successful people know how to edit. Now he thinks in terms of radio because that's been his career, but you think about that, it comes down to the same thing in martial arts and fighting. And I got this from Bruce Lee, Jeet Kune Do. And he said basically to absorb all kinds of information around you, but then get rid of all the superfluous stuff. Edit it out. And I noticed like the best fighters in the world, they would just use one or two techniques over and over again, but they really knew how to use them well. So this is not a lesson in fighting, so I'm not going to get into the details. But again, it comes down to that ability to really refine what you're doing and take it to its core essence, if you will. And that's what I've done with my courses, by the way. I try, one of the reasons there's so much work is I'm structuring them. So I teach you the core aspects of the languages and the concepts behind the languages that's going to carry you forward. And that's why once you have that, all those other details come easy. So writing is the same way. If you can write concisely, be to the point, use a simple language, use bullets, as we see here. It's much more effective. It's much more effective of writing style. So let's just get into what David said here. Long-time follower since back to when I was using the Zen framework. Yeah, I did. One of the first videos I put out on YouTube was why I'm using the Zen framework. Now, that was a long time ago. Back then, I was like 25 pounds overweight, heavier. Yeah. So and you saw how stiff I was in front of the camera. I was like, oh, this is weird. I was not comfortable in front of the camera for a long time. Anyway, so he had a few thoughts to offer. What did I say in this video? Steph vlogs about app servers and direction of my channel. Okay, so my channel. Okay, so he says audio. Says, it's a funny thing. It's a funny old thing, but there's definitely a different energy when it's audio only. Now, don't get me wrong. Blah, okay, you're a handsome dude. Okay, I can't rationally explain it why it's the case, but I think it does work well. So probably it's going to be interesting. Okay, so David likes the idea of me doing audio-only content. I am going to do that because it's just a lot easier to do audio-only, having to set up a camera and make sure my hair is combed rather than just put the mic down, right? That's a lot easier. So I'm going to do that. But also audio-only is convenient because you can listen to on the go. You don't need to see me for me to talk about things about business and stuff like that. Anyhow, topics. Personally speaking, I enjoy general business topics more so than web development. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I think business topics is a wide variety of things. Let me tell you, since I've been doing it for 28 years and I have many of my friends involved, I got all kinds of stories. Some stuff crazier than you'd ever thought possible. Trust me. So it's going to be cool to get into that, I think. I'm going to have fun doing it, so it'll be better. Specific questions. You don't have to answer any of them. These are just random thoughts. Okay, so he has questions for me. All right. Based on what you just said about hosting, would you agree Rackspace is the most solid short ever? We talking about short. He's talking about in stock trading. You can buy shares, hoping they go up, and you can do something called short shares. Basically, it's a weird thing where you can borrow shares from the bank or a broker and then sell them, take the money, put it in your pocket. But at some point, you have to buy those shares back. You have to pay for them. And when you're shorting the shares, it's like, think about they're getting shorter. You're hoping that their value gets shorter. You're hoping that they lose value. So then when you buy them back, you buy them back for less. So let's say you decide that a certain stock like Rackspace is going to go under. You figure, their business sucks. So what you do, you can short their stock. So what that means is that you can borrow their stocks, the Rackspace stocks from somebody who's got them, brokers, they got all kinds of stocks lying around. And you buy them, let's say they're $10 each. So you buy them, you get them you borrow 100 or 1,000 or 10,000, whatever you're going to do, and they're $10 each, and you sell them by $10 and you pocket that money. Now, what you're hoping is that they're going to go to $9, or they're going to go to $8, or they're going to go to $7. So when they get to a lower price, you have to buy them. Yeah, you have to provide those shares. You have to buy them back, right? Because you borrow the shares. You borrow them to sell, so you're going to have to buy them back. So if they go down to $7, you made $3 for every share that you already pre-sold, right? That's called shorting. You're betting that the shares actually go down in value, and there's a lot of shorting in the market. So would I short Rackspace? Well, if they're just involved with dedicated servers, because I was talking about how dedicated servers are a thing of the past, right? It's they're still used quite a bit, but I would say if you need to have a private server because you want the control and so forth, don't go dedicated server. I would go virtual private server, virtualized server if you can find an option that is good out there. There's several companies that are all jumping on board because it's a much better solution overall. So why is it better? Because you got all the flexibility of the cloud. You don't have to worry about a single point of failure, your hardware breaking down, everything is virtualized, blah, blah, blah. It's pretty cool. So would I short Rackspace? Well, if they're only in physical servers, I don't know. I think, I would have to see what the business is actually doing, but I would imagine Rackspace is involved in cloud hosting as well. But yeah, I would have to check it out. But with Google and Amazon getting in on the game, woof. Anyway, so yeah, next question. Do you think that the rise of AI will be gradual and gentle, or do you think it's a dramatic and scary? Depends on the area. I think it's going to come in spikes like everything else. Like I was talking to a friend of mine, and he has an AI-based app he's been working on for a few years, and he's an engineer, and he's basically, his app now replaces the jobs of highly paid six-figure technical writers. And he was telling me when his assistant writers would bring him back technical documents, they were like 70% good, and there was a bunch of editing that had to be done. And these people are highly trained. His AI now he tells me it performs at 90% efficiency. So the AI is actually better than his highly trained six-figure technical writers. So it depends on the area. Yes, I think there will be spikes, but I think the last place to go is going to be in creative in terms of AI replacing you, the creative areas, and in the coding, and also the trades, the skills, plumbers and stuff like that. Coders will be good for many years because the AI is not there yet. But simpler things, systemic things like just filling in reports and writing out reports that can be anything that you can identify a pattern. The AI is going to come in and kick that around. That's for sure. In terms of the generic direction that the human race is going and taking on board technology, overpopulated, geopolitics, the environment, etc., are you an optimist or pessimist when it comes to the future of the human race? I'm extremely optimistic, to be honest with you. Humans have a tendency to be very pessimistic. If you watch old films, it's always like... But the fact of the matter is, technology has a tendency to free us of our time. Like today, life is a lot easier than it was, 80 years ago. Look at our houses are much bigger, our cars are better, entertainment. We have unlimited entertainment now. I have a friend who's like a bum. I went to high school with him. He's a pure bum. Lives on welfare, but he has a nice little apartment. It's comfortable. He's got a high-speed internet. He watches TV all day. He has all the food he wants. He has okay clothes. Doesn't have to work. And but 100 years ago, forget it. He would be finished. So, and when AI comes in and robotics, and as cheaper energy comes in, more efficient solar and the natural gas starts picking up, and I know I'm not getting political. But when all this energy starts flowing in, it's happening, and cars are becoming more and more efficient, our technology is more efficient, it's just the price of everything is going to plummet. So I think the disparity of wealth between the uber rich and the poor is going to be smaller and smaller and smaller. So like Warren Buffett famously said, the average person now has a much better quality of life than the richest man in the world 130 years ago, because of technology. Right, and this is just going to accelerate big time with robotics. So I'm very optimistic about it. In fact, I think there's going to be basic income in 15 years. There's no choice in the matter. Self-driving cars and automated checkouts at McDonald's. It's just the beginning, so it's kind of cool. I think that the Star Trek vision of the world is what I think is going to happen. But that's just me. It's based on, again, my observations about my conversations with my great-grandmother who lived to be 98, how, they used to sew socks back then because socks were expensive. Today, you just throw them out and you get new socks. They're so cheap. In terms of the general, any comments on the current geopolitical situation? I don't want to comment too much on politics because I tend to be a centrist, but if I'm a centrist and the left thinks I'm a righty and the right thinks I'm a leftist, and so I'm a pragmatist more or less. I think that, generally speaking, I think it's ridiculous that people are poor living in the streets, given how much technology is out there, how much wealth there is. I think the problem is that there isn't enough to go around. I think it's just distribution, and technology will solve that problem. Distribution of resources, and again, as the robots kick in and so forth, all this is going to become a thing of the past. So. Geopolitics, again, a lot of these geopolitical strains has to do with resource wars, lack of resources. But as resources become super abundant with super efficient technologies that are coming out, AI, robotics, better renewables, people have no reason to go to war, Well, at least a lot less. What's your favorite non-tech book? Oh, that really depends on my mood, That really depends on my mood. The most impactful book for me, like when I was a kid, was The Hobbit, J.R.R. Tolkien. I really loved that book. In terms of understanding humanity, get The Naked Ape. The Naked Ape is one of these seminal books written by zoologists. I think I have a copy here. Hold on. Here we go, The Naked Ape. This is one of the most important books. Actually, this is my book from college. And I kept it because it's such an important book. And these guys, a couple of zoologists who decided to study humans like they would study monkeys. And it's fascinating because you start seeing that our behaviors are very similar to monkeys. And in fact, when I used to import rare tropical fish for collectors and public aquariums and zoos and pet stores, I used to bring in tens and tens of thousands of fish. And I observed a lot of these species they had similar patterns to humans, believe it or not. I know it sounds really weird in terms of behavior. Our behaviors, though, are abstracted by language and technology, but the underlying motivations are the same. So you have I'll give you one example before I finish this vlog. So you have certain species of fish that will build little houses and nests to impress the chicks, We do that with cars, right? We do that with cars. We do that with nice apartments and houses, So it's the same motivations. So there you go. This is great. Thanks, David. I love these questions. And check out David's channel. He's pretty smart guy. I saw a few of his vlogs. They look pretty good. So that's about it. If you have any questions, if you have any comments about this style, just let me know. Ciao.